Ghoti, a fish deck that likes to synchro summon on the opponent's main phase. We have 3 fish monsters that all have disruptions if synchro summoned. White Aura Whale, when synchro summoned, can destroy all attack position monsters. This is a win effect. It doesn't matter when you activate White Aura Whale's effect, but if you don't want to miss timing, then White Aura Whale's summon must be the last thing that happened in the previous chain, so your Ghoti tuners must activate on chain link 1. And then there's Askaan, which can target 1 fish you control and 1 card your opponent controls, and both of those cards will be banished. And although this seems like a steep cost, Askaan can banish itself, and if banished, you can banish 1 fish from your graveyard and then special summon Askaan. So Askaan's effect to banish one of your fish doesn't actually hurt you, it helps you because a lot of your cards like to be banished from the graveyard, and something you'll notice a lot about Ghoti cards is they banish as a cost. So their effects are really hard to stop with interruptions like Called by the Grave. And your big boss monster is Deep Beyond. This card can end games. If synchro summoned, you can banish all cards on the field, including your own. This is a trap deck's nightmare if they have to go second against you. It will return during the next standby phase, with 500 attack for each monster that is banished. And with your opponent's field empty, you're likely to 1-turn kill. And your Deep Beyond is not the only thing returning during the standby phase. We have 3 fish tuners that if special summon on the opponent's turn, they can be used to synchro into fish monsters. This means you'll be able to synchro at least 3 times on your opponent's turn into our White Aura Whale, Askaan, and Deep Beyond. To special summon our tuners on the opponent's turn, Paces and Shif must be banished. Banishing them is easy. Paces can banish itself from the field to special summon a fish from your hand, while Shif can banish from the graveyard to increase the attack of a fish you control by 500. If banished, they will special summon on the next standby phase. So if you banish them on your turn, they will return on your opponent's standby phase, but also if you banish them on your opponent's turn, they will return on your standby phase. It will be easy to banish these tuners, so you can keep recycling them to synchro on both players' turns. Zep, on the other hand, must be banished on the opponent's turn to special summon. Here we use Snopios to banish it from the graveyard, as a cost to special summon Snopios. And because Zep was banished on the opponent's turn, we can now special summon it. And if used for a synchro summon, it must be used immediately after its special summon has resolved. To put our tuners into play so we can synchro summon with them, we also have 2 very important Ghoti cards which are arguably the best cards in the deck, Arian Post and Snopios. The best way to show off these cards is using replays with combos.
Let's teach these fish how to synchro summon.
So this first combo just uses 1 card. We're going to normal summon Leaffish, use Leaffish to send Shif to the graveyard. Then we're going to banish Shif from the graveyard to target 1 fish you control, increasing its attack by 500 until the end of the turn. On the opponent's standby phase, Shif returns from the banished zone. Then in the main phase 1, we have the option to synchro summon. Using Shif and our Leaffish, we'll synchro summon into Arian Post. Arian Post will then banish Zep from the deck. After being banished, Zep will special summon itself and then immediately synchro summon. We can go into a White Aura Whale, but here we're going to go into an Askaan. In case your opponent has an Ash Blossom, activate Arian Post on chain link 1. If Arian Post is used as synchro material, you can banish 1 card from your graveyard, then you can add 1 fish with an equal or lower level from your deck to your hand. Here we're going to banish Arian Post, and on chain link 2, Askaan will banish one of your opponent's card and itself. Arian Post resolves, allowing you to add any level 6 or lower fish from your deck to your hand, so we can add whatever we need. Here we're just going to add Paces so we can get another tuner in play. Askaan triggers its second effect when banished. If Askaan is banished, you can banish 1 fish from your graveyard and special summon Askaan. Askaan banished the Shif, so the Shif will return during your next standby phase. So our next combo involves Paces, Light of the Ghoti, and a level 4 extender. Here we'll use Ixeep as our level 4 extender. Paces can banish itself to special summon a fish from the hand, but if it's negated by an imperm, it still banishes itself as a cost. And if a fish monster is banished, Ixeep can just special summon itself. So now we can pass our turn to our opponent. And because our Pasties was banished, we can special summon it during the next standby phase on our opponent's turn. And just like in our last combo, we can use Pasties to synchro summon into Arian Posts. Use Arian Post to banish Zep from the deck. Zep then special summons itself, allowing you to immediately synchro summon into a level 8 synchro. On Chain Link 1, we'll activate Arian Post and use its effect to banish Arian Post. And on Chain Link 2, Askaan targets one card your opponent controls and one fish you control. Chain Link 2 resolves, banishing Askaan, and then Arian Post resolves, allowing you to add a level 6 or lower fish to your hand. Because we already have our other tuner, Shif, in our hand, this time we're going to add a Snopios. And because Askaan was banished, we can trigger its effect to banish a fish from the graveyard. We'll use it to banish Pasties, and then special summon Askaan. At any point during your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect activate Snopios from your hand to banish a total of 2 fish, either from the graveyard or hand. We'll use it to banish Shif and another fish from the graveyard. And then Snopios can special summon. Snopios can then target any face-up monster on the field. When that monster leaves the field, it will be banished. You can even use it to target your opponent's cards, but for now we're going to use it to target itself. And on our standby phase, our tuners, Pasties, and Shif will return to the field. This gives us 2 tuners, a level 8 and a level 6 to synchro summon with. So we're going to use Pasties with a level 4 extender, but this time it's going to be even better. We'll use the Ghoti field spell to add a Ghoti monster to our hand. We'll use it to add Ixeep. And if Ixeep was added to your hand by banishing a fish with the field spell, you can just special summon it. And this same board state can be achieved by special summoning any level 4, so here we'll special summon a Silent Angler, and with a level 4 extender and Pasties, we will synchro summon into an Arian Post. Arian Post will then banish a Snopios from the deck. We'll use Snopios to banish a fish from the graveyard and add it to our hand. On the opponent's standby phase, our Ghoti tuner will return from the banish zone. And during the main phase 1, we can use the Ghoti tuner to synchro summon into a level 8 with Arian Post. On Chain Link 1, we'll use Arian Post to target a fish in the graveyard. On Chain Link 2, Askaan will target the opponent's card and itself for banishment. Arian Post resolves, banishing a fish from the graveyard and adding another fish to our hand. We will use it to add Zep. Askaan then returns to the field by banishing a fish from the graveyard. At some point during our opponent's main phase, we can activate Snopios, banish Zep and another fish, allowing us to special summon Snopios from the hand. Zep will then trigger its effect when banished. So now we can special summon Zep. Since we're about to banish Snopios, you can use its on special summon effect to target one of your opponent's cards instead. We can then synchro summon with Zep and Askaan into a Deep Beyond to banish the entire field. And if banished, Snopios can banish a fish from the graveyard and add itself to the hand. So this time we're going to be using Zep and a level 4 extender. We'll still synchro summon into Arian Post. Arian Post will then banish a Shif. You can also banish Pasties here if you already have a Shif in your hand. And on the next standby phase, we'll special summon our Shif tuner to the field. And during the main phase 1, we will activate our Shif to synchro summon into an Askaan. Arian Post hits the graveyard. We'll activate its effect, targeting itself. And Askaan activates on Chain Link 2. Banishing both cards, and then Arian Post will be used to add a Snopios to the hand. Askaan then banishes the Shif from the graveyard and special summons itself. And then sometime during the main phase 1, we'll activate Snopios, banishing the Zep and another fish from the graveyard, and then activating the Zep to special summon itself. It would be better to banish a fish from your hand so you still have one in the graveyard, but we're going to pretend we don't have any. And then using Zep and Askaan to go into a Deep Beyond. Deep Beyond will banish the field, and Snopios will banish a fish from the graveyard and add itself to the hand. This time we'll be using Shif and a level 4 extender. We'll use it to Synchro Summon into Arian Post. Arian Post then banishes a Pasties from the deck, and Shif banishes itself from the graveyard by targeting one fish you control to increase its attack by 500. And on the next standby phase, our Pasties tuner will return, and so will our Shif. And sometime during the main phase 1, we'll activate our Pasties. To summon a level 8 Synchro. We'll use Arian Post to banish itself to add a Snopios to the hand. And then we'll activate the Shif to go into a Deep Beyond. Now we have a 2-card combo to summon 2 Synchro Disruptions. Pasties banishes itself to summon Leaf Fish from the hand. Leaf Fish then sends Shif to the graveyard. Shif banishes itself from the graveyard to target one fish you control, increasing its attack until the end of the turn. On the next standby phase, Shif special summons itself from the banished zone. Pasties returns to the field. And in the main phase 1, we will activate our Pasties. Using Pasties and Leaf Fish, we'll Synchro Summon into Arian Post. Arian Post will banish Snopios from the deck. If Snopios is banished, it can banish one fish from the graveyard, will banish Pasties, and then add itself to the hand. Then at some point on your opponent's turn, you can use Shif and Arian Post to Synchro Summon into a level 8 Synchro. On Chain Link 1, we'll activate Arian Post to banish a fish from the graveyard, and on Chain Link 2, we'll activate Askaan, targeting one of your opponent's cards and one fish you control. Chain Link 2 resolves, banishing both cards that were targeted by Askaan. Arian Post resolves, banishing Shif. Adding a level 2 or lower monster to our hand, we'll use it to add Zep to the hand. And if you already have a Zep in your hand, then you can banish whatever fish you need from the graveyard to add whatever fish you need to your hand. Askaan then triggers its effect. If banished, it can banish one fish from the graveyard. We'll banish Arian Post and then special summon Askaan. Now at any point on your opponent's turn, when you feel it is necessary, you can activate Snopios from the hand to banish Zep and any fish from the graveyard or hand. Special summoning Snopios from the hand. Depending on the board state, you'll have to decide which monster effect you want to chain block. Here we'll activate Snopios on Chain Link 1 and Zep on Chain Link 2. Zep special summons itself from the banished zone. Snopios resolves, targeting any monster on the field. Now we can Synchro Summon with Zep using either Askaan or Snopios. Here we'll use Askaan to Synchro Summon into Deep Beyond to banish the field. And on your standby phase, we'll get both of our tuners back. Shif. Then Pasties. And because Deep Beyond was banished from the monster zone, it will also return to the field. And its attack will be 500 times the number of monsters that are banished. This time we'll be using Pasties and Eanoc. We will normal summon our Ash Magnet, Beautiful Princess, to special summon a level 4 or lower fish from the deck. We'll summon Pasties and then banish it to special summon a fish from the hand. We'll special summon Eanoc. Eanoc will then target one of your banished cards to special summon it, and we'll target Pasties. We're going to banish Pasties with Eanoc to add a Ghoti trap card to our hand. We'll use it to add Ghoti Chain, set our trap card, and pass our turn. And on the standby phase, Pasties will return from another dimension. In the main phase 1, we'll activate Pisces to Synchro Summon into an Askaan. Now, Askaan is a very useful interaction with other cards that banish. Because Askaan is not an if you do effect, after you have targeted cards for banishment with Askaan's effect, you can remove your own card that was targeted, and the opponent's card will still be banished. So I'll show you an example. So here we'll activate Askaan, targeting one of the opponent's cards and one fish you control will target itself. On Chain Link 2, we can activate Ghoti Chain to banish one fish you control to summon a Ghoti from the deck. We'll banish Askaan because it was going to be banished anyway. We want to special summon our tuner from the deck, so we're going to special summon Shif. Askaan resolves, allowing you to still banish your opponent's card, and because Askaan was banished, we can banish one fish from the graveyard to special summon Askaan. We'll use it to banish Pisces. Special summoning Askaan. And now we have a level 8 monster with our level 2 tuner. So it doesn't really matter how your tuners were special summoned on your opponent's turn, only that they are special summoned, so you will be able to use them for synchro summoning. And when you're ready, you can activate Shif, synchro summon into Deep Beyond to wipe the field, banishing everything. So in this next combo, we'll need Pisces, Shif, and a level 4 extender. So we're going to banish Tuna to summon Pisces from the deck. Because Tuna was banished, we can special summon our Ixeep. We'll banish Pisces, summon a fish from the hand. We'll use it to summon Shif. We'll synchro summon into Adiempos. Adiempos banishes Snopios. Snopios banishes Shif from the graveyard, adding itself to the hand. And on your opponent's standby phase, Pisces returns to the field, and Shif also special summons itself. In the main phase 1, we'll activate Pisces to special summon a level 8 synchro. We'll go into White Aura Whale. Adiempos activates on Chain Link 1 and White Aura Whale on Chain Link 2 if you happen to activate it. We'll use Adiempos to banish a fish from the graveyard to add Zep to the hand. Then we can synchro summon into Deep Beyond using our Shif and Adiempos. And at some point during our opponent's turn, we can activate Snopios to banish Zep and a fish. We'll activate Zep and Snopios. We'll use Snopios to target itself. When it leaves the field, it will be banished. We then special summon Zep. Then we activate Zep to synchro summon into another level 8 synchro. And because Snopios was banished, we can target one fish in the graveyard to add Snopios to the hand. So here we have another 3-card combo. Pisces special summons Eanoc. Eanoc brings back the Pisces. Then we'll special summon our extender. Synchro summon into Adiempos. Adiempos will banish the fish from the deck. We use it to banish Snopios. Snopios banishes the Pasties from the graveyard, adding Snopios to our hand. Eanoc banishes itself, but you can also use it to banish an extra fish laying around. Just don't banish Aryan Post because we will need that later. We use Eanoc's effect to add Ghoti Chain to the hand. We'll set it to the field and pass our turn. And on the next standby phase, Pasties returns from the banished zone. In the main phase 1, Pasties activates its effect. We'll Synchro Summon into Askaan. On Chain Link 1, Aryan Post activates to banish a fish from the graveyard. On Chain Link 2, we activate Askaan to target one card our opponent controls and one fish you control. On Chain Link 3, Ghoti Chain banishes the fish you control that you targeted to special summon a Ghoti from the deck. Chain Link 3 resolves, letting us use Ghoti Chain to special summon a Shif from the deck. And on Chain Link 2, Askaan banishes the opponent's card. And on Chain Link 1, Aryan Post resolves, letting us add a Zep to the hand. Askaan then triggers its effect. We'll banish a fish to special summon Askaan. Then at some point during our opponent's turn, we'll activate Shif to special summon Deep Beyond using Askaan. Deep Beyond then banishes the field. Snopios will then banish Zep and another fish. Snopios targets itself. If it leaves the field, it will be banished. Zep returns to the field, and now we can Synchro Summon into another level 8 Synchro. You could have waited for the battle phase, summon Snopios and Zep, and then Synchro Summon into a White Aura Whale to blow up the field, to destroy all monsters in attack position. We'll banish a fish from the graveyard and add Snopios to our hand. Using Aryan Post to banish Pasties, banish Shif, and add Snopios to your hand is the ideal board state, but sometimes you can only do 2 out of 3. If you were to banish Shif and banish Pasties with no Snopios in your hand, your board will be much better at single target disruptions like Imperm and Book of Moon. If you only banish one of your tuners and add a Snopios to the hand, your board is going to be much better at surviving board breakers like Raigeki or Evenly. If your opponent threatens you with a board breaker, you can Synchro Aryan Post to add Zep to your hand, and then use Snopios to banish the Zep, and then Synchro into a Deep Beyond. So the better board state will depend on you predicting your opponent. If you lose the coin flip and your opponent decides to let you go first, then it's more likely that they have a board breaker in their hand. So, if you think you've mastered how to combo with Ghoti, then you're ready to summon Deep Beyond twice in one turn. Deep Beyond is not once per turn, so you will be able to jump scare your opponent to banish the field with another Deep Beyond. So here we need to get Askaan in the graveyard without banishing itself. You can either use Askaan to target another fish other than Askaan, like a Bishark or any extra fish you have lying around, or you can target itself and then Synchro right away with Shif into a Deep Beyond. You can also do this if your Askaan was negated. So after we wipe the board with Deep Beyond, we just have to bring our Askaan back to the field. And fortunately, that's very easy because all we have to do is banish it and Synchro Summon it with another level 2 tuner. So our Deep Beyond has wiped the board. Now we can use Snopios to banish Askaan and Zep from our hand, special summoning Snopios. We'll activate Zep. Activate Askaan to banish a fish from the graveyard. And activate Snopios. Askaan returns to the field, and Zep special summons, and now we can activate Zep to synchro summon into another level 8 with Snopios, or we can synchro into Deep Beyond using our Askaan. Deep Beyond wipes the board again, and then we can add Snopios back to our hand. So now let's talk about what you can do in the following turn. If you banished both Deep Beyonds, both of them will return in the next standby phase. So we're going to summon our Deep Beyonds, our first one, and it has 500 attack for each banished monster, so we're getting a pretty beefy tower here. And now we're going to summon our other Deep Beyond, and then we're going to summon our Paces, and then our Shif. Now if you do manage to summon both Deep Beyonds, then you're likely going to be able to OTK. Snopios is a very important tool for follow-up plays. It banishes your tuners every single turn, so you can keep special summoning them on both players' turns to use them for synchro summons. So it's important that you end every turn with your Snopios still in your hand. So in this replay, both of our tuners have special summons. We also have a Deep Beyond with an Askaan in the graveyard that was used to synchro summon Deep Beyond, and we have a Snopios in the hand. So we're going to use Snopios to banish Askaan and another fish. But we need to have at least one fish still left in the graveyard. And Askaan will banish the fish you still have in the graveyard so it can special summon itself. Snopios will target itself, so when it leaves the field it will be banished. Now you have both a level 8 and a level 6 and 2 level 2 tuners. So then we'll be able to synchro it into a level 10, either a Baron, Changing, Jameer. So we're going to go into Baron here. And then we can go into our level 8 synchro. We'll summon a Dragite, but we want to move it into the extra monster zone. And because Snopios was banished by its own effect, we'll be able to banish a Paces from the graveyard and add Snopios to our hand. We'll then use Shif to banish itself from the graveyard to target our Deep Beyond, increasing its attack by 1000. So with this we'll have enough to OTK, and we have both of our tuners banished, so on the next turn we can still synchro summon using our tuners and special summoning Snopios. So I've been collecting a lot of cards that have some synergy with Ghoti. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but I'm going to leave a link to that in the description and you guys can experiment with them if you want. Coelacanth deserves a video all to itself. For now we're just going to talk about the most spicy tech cards, and the first card we'll talk about is Abyss Shark. A lot of people get Abyss Shark combos wrong, so here we're going to set the record straight. So here we're going to special summon a water monster. And because we only control water monsters, we can special summon Abyss Shark to add a Leaf Fish to our hand. And now we can use our normal summon. When summoned, Leaf Fish can send a fish to the graveyard. We will use it to send Shif to the graveyard. Now we can link into Marensis Coral Anemone. We'll use our Abyss Shark and Shathana as link material. An enemy can then special summon a water monster with less than 1500 attack. We'll special summon our tuner and then synchro into Aryan Post. Aryan Post can then banish our Paces. Then we can activate Shif, banishing it from the graveyard to increase the attack of Aryan Post. So with both of our tuners returning on the next standby phase, and Aryan Post on the field, this is enough to make an Askaan and then synchro summon into a Deep Beyond. The previous combo can also be done backwards. This time we'll be using Leaf Fish, sending Shif to the graveyard, and then special summoning Abyss Shark and adding Silent Angler to our hand. We'll then special summon the Silent Angler, and then link summon into a Marensis Coral Anemone. Coral Anemone will special summon our tuner from the graveyard, and we'll use it with Leaf Fish to synchro into Aryan Post. Aryan Post can then banish Paces or Snopios, depending on which board you prefer. In this replay, we're going to banish Snopios. Snopios will then banish the Shif from the graveyard, and this is our final board. So this 2-card combo involves Abyss Shark with Paces or Shif. So we're going to normal summon our Paces and special summon the Abyss Shark, and you might be tempted to add a Leaf Fish and then use Paces to special summon it. That won't give you a better hand. Instead, you want to add Silent Angler. Use Silent Angler to synchro summon into Aryan Post, then use Aryan Post to banish a Snopios. Snopios then banishes the tuner in the graveyard, adding itself to the hand. So then we're just going to pass our turn. And on the next standby phase, our Pacey's returns, giving us an Askaan with Arian Post. And when Arian Post hits the graveyard, it adds Zep to our hand. So with Snopios and Zep, that's enough to make a Deep Beyond. So now we have a 3-card combo involving Pacey's, Abyss Shark, and Leaf Fish. Leaf Fish sends our Shif to the graveyard. Pacey's banishes itself, and with Leaf Fish, we send Shif to the graveyard, and then Shif banishes itself. With 2 of our tuners banished and the Leaf Fish on the field, we can make an Arian Post which can send a Zap, which is enough to make a Deep Beyond. To give support to our Deep Beyond combo, we can special summon Abyss Shark, use Abyss Shark to add a Silent Angler to our hand, and then use Silent Angler and Abyss Shark to Exi summon into a Stealth Kragen. Our next very spicy tech is Ready Fusion. This card is a massive boost to consistency for the deck, since this card can be used to summon Alvain, a level 2 tuner, and Rare Fish, a level 4 fusion. Ready Fusion makes it much easier to synchro summon into Arian Posts. This also makes it much easier to summon Deep Beyond with just 2 cards. So this time we're going to be using a 3-card combo with Ready Fusion with Leaf Fish and Abyss Shark. Leaf Fish will normal summon and then send Shif to the graveyard. Then we'll activate the Ready Fusion, summoning our Alvain level 2 tuner from the extra deck to synchro into Arian Post. Arian Post will then banish our Pacey's. We'll use Abyss Shark to special summon, adding the Silent Angler. Now here we can go into a Stealth Kragen, but we're going to go instead to a Marintis Coral Anemone, using Anemone to bring back our tuner. And with our Shif and Arian Post, we'll synchro summon into a level 8 Dragite. And because our Arian Post was sent to the graveyard, we can banish a fish from the graveyard. We'll use it to banish Arian Posts. This is so we can add Snopios to our hand. Then we'll use Snopios to banish the Shif from the graveyard and banish another fish from our graveyard. But if you have a Pacey's in your hand, then you can banish that instead. Special summoning our Snopios, targeting itself, and then ending our turn. Both of our tuners will return. Our 2 tuners and Snopios is enough to make Deep Beyond, and Dragite gives us protection from spell and trap cards. Now we're going to hop into the next card. Hop Air is a hand trap that can synchro on the opponent's turn. Using Hop Air, we can synchro into generic, non-fish synchro monsters. And the top level 10 synchros are Baron to Floor because it's an Omni Negate, Chenging because it banishes when you banish, Rudy Rose Dragon because it banishes everything in the graveyard, which is great in the tier meta, and Satellite Warrior, which can destroy cards your opponent controls, equal to the number of synchro monsters in your graveyard. If you use Hop Ear to synchro into a level 8, then you'll want to synchro into a Cell Synchro Stardust Dragon. If it's been synchro summoned, it can special summon a level 2 or lower tuner from the graveyard. And we're just gonna hop out of the graveyard. And at any point during the main phase, you can tribute this card to special summon 1 Stardust Dragon from your extra deck. Then you can synchro summon using any monsters you control. You can leave Stardust Dragon on the field if you want to protect your cards from card destruction. Whatever you synchro into will be unaffected by activated effects until the end of the turn. One of the best monsters to synchro into is Satellite Warrior because you'll have 3 monsters in the graveyard, Arian Post, Stardust Dragon, and a Cell Synchro, so you'll be able to pop 3 cards. For each card destroyed by Satellite Warrior, your attack will increase by 1000. This gives you a monster with 5500 attack that is unaffected by activated effects. So if you want to do maximum damage with Hop Your Squadron, then you'll want to play it with other cards that disrupt your opponent on their turn while summoning a body on the board. So then you can synchro summon on our turn. This brings us to our next card, Psyframe Gear Gamma. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control no monsters, you can quick effect special summon this card from your hand and 1 level 6 vanilla from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and if you do, you can negate the activation and destroy that opponent's monster. This card is really great in Ghoti because a lot of our cards activate off the field, like Pacey's Beautiful Princess and Supe, so you'll be able to negate cards that try to disrupt you. This card also lets you play on your opponent's turn if you negate it with Cypher and Gamma. Summon your level 6 vanilla from the deck, you can target that level 6 vanilla with Hop Ear, and then use Hop Ear to synchro summon into a level 8. Now if you do happen to use this effect to synchro summon into a Cell Stardust, and then the Cell Stardust brings back the Hop Ear tuner from the graveyard, and then go into a Stardust Dragon, and immediately synchro summon, you don't have to use Hop Ear to synchro summon. You can use whatever monsters you control, so we're just going to use the Gamma because that card's going to banish itself at the end of the turn anyway. So this not only gives you a level 10 synchro, but also a free tuner on the field. And because some of our synchro monsters like Askaan and Deep Beyond banish and leave no monsters on the field, Cypher and Gamma is never really a dead card in this deck. So now let's talk about consistency. In a standard Ghoti deck, it takes at least 2 cards to get to Deep Beyond. All 8 of these cards form a 2-card combo with every card listed here. These 2-card combos summon an Askaan and then you can jump into a Deep Beyond. Beautiful Princess and Piri-Reese Map are used to search for other fish. Beautiful Princess searches Pacey's and Lee Fish, while Piri-Reese Map can search for any monster with 0 attack, so we'll use it to add either Tuna or Pacey's, but you can also use it to add Shif or Zep. And the biggest downside to running Tuna is that it does die to Ash Blossoms, so you will have to run Call by the Grave and Cypher Gammas to protect it, and Piri-Reese Map cuts your life points in half. And you won't be able to activate the effects of cards you add with Piri-Reese Map until you normal summon them or you wait until the next turn. Both cards offer a massive boost to consistency, so you'll have to weigh the risk and decide whether or not you want these cards in your deck. Just one caveat that I will add is that despite Piri-Reese Map cutting your life points in half, in Yu-Gi-Oh! The only life points that matter is 0. The next card is Unexpected Die. This summons a level 4 fish and a level 2 tuner. So this is basically our budget ready fusion. Instead of summoning from the extra deck, it summons from the main deck. And the best thing about this card, other than it adding another space fish to your deck, is that you don't need to craft it because everybody gets this card when you download the game. Our next card is Duskwalker. This card is a level 5 that special summons itself while special summoning a level 1 tuner from the deck, so you can synchro summon into a level 6 Arian Post. This card also locks you into synchro summoning for the rest of the turn, but we really don't need to do more than synchro summon anyway. And the best thing about this card is it doesn't use up your normal summon, and it can also special summon the Supe Garnet from your hand. To activate its effect, you have to discard 1 card as a cost. This can be a good thing if you discard a card that likes to be in the graveyard like our Ghoti, Shif. You can also use it to discard bricks like a Cyphering Driver or a second Duskwalker. The downside is if you get negated by Ash, then you lose the card you discarded, but you will keep Duskwalker in your hand so you can use it in the following turn. There are other non-fish engines that get our combo going like Side Reflector, Revealer of the Ice Barrier, and Aloof Lupine. The reason why you don't see them as often is because they use up the normal summon, and we typically need our normal summon for Pacey's or Leaf Fish. Even Side Reflector has to be normal summoned half the time, and if it gets negated by Ash Blossom after you've normal summoned it, then it's an awkward situation to be in, because it's not water and it's only a level 1 tuner, so it has no synergy with anything else in the deck. Supe is the most used because it just special summons itself, and so it doesn't conflict with anything else the deck is trying to do. And for other consistency cards, we have Golden Sarcophagus and Crossout Designator. Both of these cards are used to banish our tuners from the deck. Crossout Designator is a must-have in every Ghoti deck because of its utility to negate disruptions. Crossout Designator banishes a card from the deck and then negates the effects of cards with that name, but only until the end of the turn. This card will mostly be used to negate the effects of hand traps you and your opponent share. It's also very useful in a mirror match, and we can use it to banish our Ghoti Shif or Ghoti Pacey's because they will still special summon on the next standby phase when their effects are no longer negated. So we've already talked about these combos. They all form our main 2-card combos that all synergize with each other to synchro into Askaan and then Deep Beyond. We also have 2-card combos involving other cards like Shif, Zep, and more. If you've mastered all of these combos I showed you in this video, then you will have all the techniques available to you to know how to do any of the combos listed here. Most of them are pretty much the same. They involve summoning Arian Post and then banishing either Pacey's, Shif, or Snopios. We also have Duskwalker, Leaf Fish, and our 2 soft copies of Leaf Fish, Tuna, and Piri-Reese Map. All of these cards are 1-card Askaans, so you can pair them with Golden Sarcophagus, Crossout Designator, Hopier, or Ghoti Chain to summon deep beyond. Some cards appear more than others, like Abyss Shark and Duskwalker, which have the most 2-card combos, so these cards can increase your consistency more than any other card. We can also see some cards are completely absent from our 2-card combo list, like Ghoti Ixeep, which needs at least 3 cards to summon Deep Beyond because it doesn't special summon itself, and the field spell Deepest Depths, which also needs 3 cards. These cards sometimes see no play because they can make the deck less consistent. You'd need a good reason to play them in your deck, like maybe you need more ways to beat Ash Blossom, or maybe you need more copies of Pasties in your hand more often, or something like that. So looking at the deck list, we have 2 decks that are both hand trap heavy, and the logic behind using so many hand traps is that Ghoti doesn't do well going second. Usually we only have enough to summon an Arian Post and pass our turn, and so that's not really enough to break a board. With hand traps, this prevents your opponent from ever building a board in the first place. We have Bellbind's Diamond 1 deck that has 19 hand traps. Looking at the consistency of the deck, Bellbind has 16 cards that 2-card combo. This gives them a 74% chance of summoning an Askaan, and then synchro summoning into a Deep Beyond. And with all the ways to search for Leafish, he has an 85% chance of summoning an Askaan. I personally prefer having more consistency, so in decks I build I like to have at least an 85% chance of doing my best combos. And with 19 cards that 2-card combo, I have an 85% chance of summoning a Deep Beyond. I'm also using 2 Hopier, which is a hand trap that increases my consistency to summon Deep Beyond by 2%, bringing it to a total of 87%, and I also have a 92% chance of summoning an Askaan. My deck is also on the lower side of hand trap heavy since I only have 12 hand traps, which only gives me a 50% chance of at least having 2 in my hand, while Bellbind is on the higher end, having at least an 80% chance of having at least 2 hand traps. This means Bellbind's deck is going to be much better at going second against decks like Tier Laments. Perhaps there's a middle ground between these 2 decks where you still have your consistency and you still have a lot of hand traps going second. I'll leave it up to you guys to decide where you want to be on this spectrum.